And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
If you cannot speak and talk about the history of who they are, then they will not really carry your story. They will not understand their story. So today, the first thing I was the greatest revelation I was telling you a while back, is that most people trying to reach, and I'm going to specifically talk today, and next week will be Spanish, the following week the Asian, etc. But I'm going to talk specifically today about the black culture. And I wanted to right now, I know, and how many would agree that I am not black? Can I get a witness, everybody? Amen. Praise God. Praise God. Pretty white to me. Can I get an amen up in here? Yeah. Praise God. Amen. So here's the deal. But what I want to share with you is I want to talk to you about is that, you know, we went across the country and we found out there's certain things that help reach that culture and reach it effectively. And there's certain things that don't make it happen. Okay. And today I would like to talk about those things that do reach the culture, specifically the men of the culture. And the first thing I found out is this. I found out that they do not know their history. That's one of the things that I know. And so you have to tell them their history. So today I'm going to attempt to do that. He's now positioned in a position of power and authority. He is given within him a belt. On one side is justice, and the other is blessing. He now is given the Constitution of God as a king. I give this to you, Bishop, as a sign of covenant, as a sign of release, as my sign of love for you. Amen. My brothers will come forth. 4 sons representing the 4 corners of the earth. They'll raise him up right now. He now is raised up from a commoner to a kingship. Come on, raise it up. And I'll walk him around. Come on! Come on, praise God.
Want to say peace and blessings to everyone. Want to say Shalom Lak, Mash Pakha. Want to say peace and blessings to everyone. Hope all is well with you guys. We got a lot to cover tonight. Tonight, we're going to deal with, as you see, our theme is romancing the Stones. Again, romancing the Stones. And before we get started, I'm just going to go briefly through the chat here and give some shout outs here. And I want to just say to the moderators, if you see anyone trolling, block them, remove them from the chat, because I know we're going to cover some things that's pretty sensitive to so many people, but even then we still should be able to be very respectful to one another in spite of what you agree or disagree to. And I know what I'm going to cover here tonight can be very sensitive to some, especially when we start dealing with things that many don't want to give up, many don't want to let go, many may make a lot of money off of it. So nevertheless, let me just give some shout outs here and we'll get started here. I want to start off by saying peace and blessings to Shawnee. I want to say peace and blessings to you. Shalom to you. I want to say shalom to Sister Lynn. Darnell, I want to say peace and blessings to you as well. Arrow Spike, my brother, I want to say peace and blessings to you. Geeks in the building. I want to say peace and blessings to, who else do we have here? Tyrone Smith, I want to say shalom to you as well. Appreciate you for taking time out of your schedule to tune in tonight. I want to say shalom to Brew Queen Yisrael. I want to say peace and blessings to you. Paradigm Shift, shalom to you as well. Christina Hill, I want to say peace and blessings to you. Son of Yahweh, I want to say peace and blessings to you as well. Just Reese, peace and blessings to you. You Taylor, 777, I want to say good evening to you as well. Shalom to you. Israelite wife, I want to say shalom to you as well. D. Wimberly, shalom to you. Shirley Greer, I want to say peace and blessings to you as well. My buddy Jay Highstyle, you know that I will drop the link inside the chat. So if you ever want to jump on, feel free to do so. But I want to say peace and blessings to Doctor. Appreciate you for taking the time out of your schedule to tune in tonight. And just thank you for the words of encouragement and the support. I want to say peace and blessings to Joy. I want to say peace and blessings to Ashley, another geek in the building here. I want to say peace and blessings to you, sister. Appreciate you as well. Who else do we have here? Matith Yahu, Ben Israel. I want to say shalom. Mash Paka. I want to say peace and blessing to you, Ak, as well. Who else do we have here? Sheila. I want to say peace and blessings to you. Of course, my sister Carol. Appreciate the love and support from you. I want to say shalom to you as well. Who else do we have here? Don't want to skip anyone here. I know he's starting to jump on here. I want to say shalom to Angie Love Yah, Susan Gimini. I want to say peace and blessings to you. Nicole Levels, peace and blessings to you. Devora Cotton, I want to say peace and blessings to you. Forgive me if I'm rushing through, just trying to get as many as I can here. Nicole, want to say shalom to you. 78 Yvette, want to say 78 Vet, want to say peace and blessings to you. Shalom to you as well. Who else do we have here? Let's see here. Wenan Yapur, want to say peace and blessings to you. Matter of fact, let me plug my tablet up here just to make sure we don't get disconnected. Dwayne Butler, want to say peace and blessings to you. Who else do we have here? Let's see. Ruhaman, excuse me, my cousin. Want to say peace and blessings to you guys. Appreciate all the love, support, the prayers. Really appreciate you. Garth Yahuda, want to say peace and blessings to you. Shalom to you as well, my brother. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to watch the presentation tonight. Brother Ernest, want to say shalom to you as well, family. Really appreciate you guys. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. If I missed your name, as the old school would say it, charge it to my head and not to my heart. So my apologies if I may have missed your names. So we're going to get started here, and we have a lot to cover. And I know when we start dealing with certain subjects, it could be very sensitive. I want to say peace and blessings to Yasan, shalom to you as well, brother. When we start dealing with subjects, especially when we start dealing with sage, uh, chakras, when we start really dealing with certain things, it can be sensitive to a number of people. Family, you'd be surprised how many things and the things that our community is indulging in. A lot of mysticism, a lot of other things that are being injected into what many people walk. Things people just don't want to let go. So we're going to be covering a lot today here. But I want to get everyone caught up here because this presentation, the reason why I am doing this presentation tonight is because of many of you guys may be familiar with the whole situation with the Issachar situation and how he came at me, Hebrew Nation, and another number of others, Benea Israel, Maury Brown, Sister E. We were minding our own business. He wasn't even in our discussions. And out of the clear blue, he decided to bring our names up. And he really decided to hone in on me, stated that we're bringing or leading our people back into captivity. He began to do, try to stir up the pew discussion again by connecting and partnering up with the UA community. And it was just very messy. He put a lot of insults out there stating that I hide behind women. And it was just one complete big mess that he stirred up. And because of that, what he allowed me to do is to have the discussion and go into areas that I stay clear of, because I know that some of our brothers and sisters are really teaching the Bantu culture. And I didn't want to put a teaching out there that would give the impression that I'm trying to, what they say, sneak diss and all that stuff. Didn't want to do that. But since he went there in the discussion, it allowed me to address a number of different things. And so with that being said, I want to say peace and blessings. We got Benea in the building. Let's show some love with Benea, and cuz I'll drop the link in the chat here shortly. So feel free to jump on. But in a nutshell, he really put a lot of things out there, but with me responding and really delving into the things that his teachings and all that, I was surprised about the things that he is teaching and continued to teach. So we got a lot to deal with. So this came about that there from that whole situation, and many that supports Issachar, many of the supporters of Issachar have been trolling my videos, been trolling, including Issachar has been trolling my Facebook page, but anyway, let me just share with you just to get things started here, and I'll drop the invite inside the chat shortly. And again, Benea, feel free to jump on in. So Jay Highstyle, feel free to jump in. So, but let me just bring you up to speed here. Let me enlarge my screen here. So, of course, our topic for tonight is romancing the stones. Romancing the stones. And I'm going to explain why I used Thanos here. And we'll get to that shortly here. But romancing the stones, and many of you guys that are geeks that follow the Marvel universe, so to speak, the movies and so forth, you guys are familiar with Thanos, right? And so Thanos went on a quest to get the 6 stones, and we'll deal with that later. All right. So that's why I have that image here to really explain that. But let me address a couple of things before we get there. Let me go back here. Let me go to a screen print here. All right. What you see on your screen here comes from Issachar, right? This is his response to the video that I did or uploaded over the weekend. But I want to highlight here really want to hone in on something that's key here, right? This is him, and this is him. He trolled my Facebook page, and I'm not going to get into all of that. But you see here, he says here, you are invited to search our entire channel, and you will not find one personal attack on these individuals. And these individuals he's referring to is all that I mentioned: myself, Benaya, Moray Brown, Hebrew Nation, Josh, Moray Morris. Said he did not launch not a single personal attack, but yet he went after my education. He said that I hide behind women. He said that I was very emotional. And of course, he went after the very thing that's dear to me is my family history, my family tradition, my family things that have been handed down. And that's the church down in Savannah, First African Baptist Church, which my great uncle, Pastor James Wesley Carr, pastored that church. And for him to, anyway, so I want you to see here, he states here that you are invited to search our entire channel, and you will not find one personal attack on these individuals. On the other hand, this is literally straight out of COINTELPRO, right? So when you understand this, and yes, he went after Benaya with his teachings, but when you understand this here, COINTELPRO, that's counterintelligence for those that are not familiar with it, the counterintelligence program that the government stirred up to basically infiltrate the different groups that they felt that was a threat, like the Black Panthers, the Nation of Islam, more specific, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. So they really honed in on to infiltrate those groups to undermine them. So the government came up with this program, this counterintelligence program, to purposely go against those that will fight against the injustice, right? And so what they would do is they will put a plant there so that way they can snitch on those groups, so that way the government would know how to take them down, right? But I want y'all to understand here, in this follow-up here, he does not address any of the things that I brought up, any of the things that I proved that he is serving another, he's serving another Most High, that he's serving another Messiah, that he's serving another Holy Spirit, that he's into ancestral worship. He did not touch upon any of those things. So when he says COINTELPRO, he's saying that basically calling me a snitch. So what did I snitch? What did I tell? I expose what he's actually teaching the people. So let me just touch on, for those that are not familiar with what occurred and the things that I shared, but let me just share with you a couple of the videos, and then we'll get into this presentation. All right. Now, this is Issachar insulting me, personal attack on me, stating that I hide behind women. Now, notice what he says here.
In this particular situation, we have a pastor who could not take someone simply disagreeing. It wasn't about the facts. It wasn't about the evidence. It was simply about disagreement. And because of the disagreement, again, we're going to just chronicle a little bit of what I saw. His first reaction was to basically to immediately take to social media, which is fine. It's totally fine. But I've noticed a pattern with this individual. Anytime someone says something that if they disagree with him, he has a tendency of always running to women.
But that's not personal. And see, all of that triggered from what he did. And I didn't put all the clips here to show that the very thing that I was disappointed about what he did is what far as what I'm disappointed about his actions. He was disappointed about the same thing when Teo Ministries did a lesson on some of the things that he's teaching, the things that he's practicing. But he's the one that started this whole thing. while we were minding our own business. All right. And this is what he went on to say.
I don't understand that. Well, I do understand it. Thank you. And I'm only sweating because it's hot in this room. I'm not nervous. Okay, so anybody wants to do that, and it's not that. So I've noticed this. I noticed this because this same pastor had the same issue with Pastor Dow. He had the same issue with some of the people within urban apologetic movement. Okay. And there are people, these are Christians that when they see the Bible differently and all that, and they're going to believe what they believe, and it's totally fine. I mean, I don't have nothing to do with them, and take that back to church. Take that back to church. Take that back to church. Take that back to church.
In Z formation.
And so, as you see, he went personal. Wanted to throw these suggestions that I'm emotional out there, suggesting that I'm feminine, suggesting that I'm a coward, and those different things that he tried to put out there, right? And the very thing he tried to accuse me of is the very thing that the actions that he displayed, right? Let me just show you how he was, according to him, emotional.
Don't get offended. You left a comment. I'm coming back to you to respond to it. See, people do that sometimes. It's kind of like to throw it back on you to make you think, no. I'm just responding to you. You just didn't know what to expect. You didn't know what to expect. You thought we were just going, the joy of the Lord is my strength. Yeah, I get you. No, there's no coons up in here. Maybe in the church where you came out of, but there's no cooning up in here, period. We're not cooning up in here. You understand? We're not doing that. All right? Take that back to church. Take that back to church. Take that back to church.
All right. So those are some of the things that, I want to just touch on a little bit, but the things that he still haven't denied, the things that he did not deny at all in any of his responses, his videos, including this one that's on your screen, he did not deny. He did not touch on or explain his ancestral worship. Let me play it here, showing you that he worshiped ancestral worship, which the scripture speaks against.
So he didn't just do that just to do that. No. He did that because it was a reminder to us that, listen, you have the power to call forth those things in your legacy, in your legacy, in your legacy, in your legacy. So he didn't just do that just to do that. No. He did that because it was a reminder to us that, listen, you have the power to call forth those things in your legacy. Now, you got the good things. These people here were identified as saints or people who followed the Torah. You know what I mean? They were righteous people. We had the power to call forth those legacies that were desolate, and to tell them to call them and tell them to come forth and be present amongst us, and be present amongst us, and be present amongst us, and be present amongst us.
So he did not deny ancestral worship, which he used the term legacy. He did not deny his worship of Nzambi, as I stated and proved that Nzambi is not the same as the Most High of the ancient Israelites. So here we have it. You're going to hear him mention Mwanda for the Holy Spirit and also Nzambi.
Let's get started. Let's get started the right way. Kimbo, Natata, Nzambi, 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 Nzambi. The breath of life, and man became a living soul. So what he did was took life, his spirit, part of his Mwanda, part of his Mwanda, part of his Mwanda, part of his Mwanda, part of his Mwanda.
All right, so he didn't deny what we just pointed out, the Mwanda, the Nzambi, as I addressed that in that video. He did not address the Simeon Toko as far as the Messiah. Now here's his co-laborer, Jonathan, speaking on that.
Christ came back incognito in the form of Simon Toko. Back incognito in the form of Simon Toko. Back incognito in the form of Simon Toko. Back incognito in the form of Simon Toko.
So again, who? All right. So I didn't cut that clip off. I didn't want to play the whole clip, but yeah. So you see that his co-laborer is saying that Simeon Toko is their second coming, is the Messiah that they believe. And this is Issachar making reference to him as he was defending him in this particular video that was directed at Teo Ministries.
What really bothered me as a man, because what I did was this. One of the individuals that was being called out, right? I actually contacted him. I said, well, did this individual, did he actually reach out to you and he had any questions? He said, no. He said, no, I never talked to him. I've listened to him for a long time, but I've never spoken to him. I was like, really? I said, wow, that's something. I said, he never called you? He was like, no. And so that to me was very unfortunate. That to me was very unfortunate. That to me was very unfortunate. That to me was very unfortunate.
All right. So he didn't address any of those things. And this is the last video I'm going to share here. This is him, me explaining his logo, which is Simeon Togo, the Messiah that they believe, and the Pastor Mello, that he shares teachings, that he teaches material, as I proved. But this is his logo that's currently on his YouTube channel. The image, this is Simeon Toko showing the scar on his chest over his heart, which is the same image that you see on Issachar's page. All right, so he haven't addressed any of those things. So when he says that, refer to me as being Simeon, me and Benet and our group, when he refers to us as being COINTELPRO, right, counterintelligence, basically he's calling us snitches. So he did not deny anything in those videos. And those that are following Issachar, I just challenge you to go and ask him to explain himself. Because in the end, there's an accountability that's going to, someone is going to be held accountable for that, starting with him and also you guys. You can't say you don't know, because the warning has been put out there. All right. So now let's go ahead and transition into the lesson here. Right. So the objectives for this playbook, these are the objectives. We're going to cover the origins of chakras. I'm going to show you and prove to you all that our ancient brothers and sisters did not practice chakras. They did not use chakras. Right? Because many will, especially some inside the comment section that was trolling me, suggest that the Israelites were using chakras and practicing them. Right? So we're going to deal with that tonight. Also, our objective is to answer this question again. Did the ancient Israelites use chakras? Did Yahweh create chakras? Because that's what many will teach, that, hey, the Most High created chakras. And I'm going to tell you he did not create chakras. Absolutely not. But I'm going to give you proof, because I have to give you proof. I cannot just say it, but I have to give you proof. Right? So before we get started on here, I want to show one more clip and then we'll tie this in. I want to show you one more clip and we're going to deal with the chakras. I want to deal with this key verse here that you see on your page, on your screen, Ezekiel chapter 13, verse 18, as we get started. But let me share with you one more thing. Let's see here.
So
let me speak to this really quickly. SD and H99, who left a comment, will you speak to your commercializing of Bantu spirituality? Are these righteous works? Will you speak to your commercializing of Bantu spirituality? Are these righteous works? Now, see, this is what happens when you do not know what you're talking about, right? What happens is you open your mouth and you will look like a fool, look like a fool, look like a fool, look like a fool.
All right, family. So you see, this is what we're going to build on, right? We're going to deal with the very things that I just highlighted. Family, and I know that as many of us transition into this truth, there's many of our brothers and sisters that have started their own businesses, and many are into custom jewelry and clothing. But you have a responsibility to research who you getting this information from, who you getting your product, who are you getting this stuff from. You owe it to yourself, because spirits attach themselves to items. Spirits attaches themselves to items, right? So you have to make sure that you're researching, doing your due diligence. And family, we as people, we have to do our due diligence and making sure that we are doing the proper research, not just on our clothing and jewelry, but also on the foods that we're putting inside our body. Start paying attention to the labels to ensure that you're not putting something that's toxic inside your bodies. All right. So this is what we're going to deal with today. We're going to deal with chakras today. All right. And I highlighted a couple of things from their website that I'm not going to go into all of that, but I just want to touch on the tiger's eye. All right. So again, this is why we have to be careful on the items that we have, the items that we're purchasing, the things that we're wearing, the things that we're bringing into the temple of the Most High. I want to say peace and blessings to my cousin, Maury Brown, Bishop Brown, boom in the building. I want to say peace and blessings to you. Appreciate you, cuz. All right, so let's go to Ezekiel chapter 13, verse 18 as we build this up. All right, it says here, Ezekiel chapter 13, verse 18, and say, thus saith Yahweh Elohim, woe to the women that sell pillows, kasath wath, right? Kasath, right? That is pillows, right? But I'm going to give you more of an understanding of what that word is. It says to all armholes, and make kerchiefs upon the head of every statue to hunt souls. Will ye hunt the souls of my people? And will ye save the souls alive that come unto you? Let me read that one more time, family. It says, and say, thus saith Yahweh Elohim, woe to the women that sells pillows, kasath wath, right? Kasath and the wath at the end, that's plural, to all armholes, and make kerchiefs upon the head of every statue to hunt souls. Will ye hunt the souls of my people? And will ye save the souls alive that come unto you? So let me just give you a brief understanding of this text here that you see on your screen. So let's start with the Hebrew definition of pillows, so that way you really understand here, right? Again, kasath, it says a cushion or pillow. So is this really dealing with the pillows that we think? No. Actually, when we go to the sub entry, you see where it says covered amulets, bracelets, right? Covered amulets that have jewelry, stones on there. But notice what it says, covered amulets. And then that sub entry, it says used by false prophetess or prophetesses in Israel to support their demonic fortune telling schemes. Let me read this again, right? Kasath in the Israeli language, Keseth, right? It says here a cushion, a pillow, but to get in the proper context of what we're reading from, covered amulets used by false prophetess in Israel to support their demonic fortune-telling schemes. So Yahweh issued a strong indictment against the women involved in occultic practices. They spoke out of their own thoughts, not out of the Most High's words. What hope they offered people was a false one, for it came only from their own desires and minds. They ensnared the souls of people, right? So they made magical charms and veils for the people to wear to try to protect them against evil. This also refers to the sorcerers' practice of placing veils over their heads while they sought to hear the counsel of the dead or see their client's future. They enticed people to buy their fortune-telling services. So Yahweh accused them, charged them of ensnaring the lives of his people while preserving their own lives through the marketing of their services. In other words, this was all about money for them. They were selling charms. They were selling amulets or bracelets to the Most High's people for personal gain, causing them to what? Go into error. This is inside the scriptures. But many will say, hey, no, show me. I can prove that the Israelites were indulging in chakras and all these different things. And when I ask them for scriptures, they can't. But I'm going to give you scriptures to show you that the Most High did not condone these things. They were offering advice and counsel to make money, not to serve the people of the Most High, not to serve and help the people. So this is what we're going to deal with later on as well. We're going to go deep with this. This is coming from their website. Now, they updated their website. They took most of it down, but they still kept like 4 items up there. Tiger's eye, rough stone pendant. They still have the tiger's eye up there. They took down what this particular image. I guess they didn't want, now that I played it in the videos, they want to take it down so that way, whatever. I'm not even going to get into why they took it down, but they still kept some of them up. But this is the tiger's eye, right? And this is what this pendant means. This is the history behind this particular stone, this crystal, sometimes known as a shapeshifter. And if you guys understand shamanism, you understand shamanism, they deal with shape-shifting, turning into creatures, right? This is where you get the spirit of ventriloquy from. Ventriloquist, right? Comes from the word ventriloquy. Right? This is controlling, taking over someone's body, right? Back in the ancient times, that was considered demonic possessions. You couldn't do what you see today, people throwing their voices. So sometimes known as a shapeshifter, meaning is known for its combination of properties that promote vitality and physical action. By activating and balancing the third chakra. Notice what I said, the third chakra. And we're going to cover the third chakra later. The solar plexus, tiger's eye crystal properties helps you stay grounded and centered. Come on. There's not a single text that the Most High tells us to go get crystals so that way we can stay grounded. That's what the Holy Spirit is for. That's what reading his word is for. That's what coming together to overcome through our testimonies, the word of our testimonies through the what? The blood of the Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. So it goes on to say, even if you're surrounded by chaos, I don't recall when Jehoshaphat was surrounded by chaos, when he was being set up by his friend Ahab. I don't recall him crying out to any stones. I don't recall him crying out to any chakras. I do recall that he cried out to the Most High. So when you want to step, this is what this says, when you want to step into your personal power and overcome emotional blocks, tiger's eye is your crystal ally, right? And I want to make this clear. If you do a Google on tiger's eye, right, you're going to come across other sites that sell this, and they give you the definition of what it means. They give you the history of what it means. So why did Issachar decide not to put the definition up there? He knows what this means. He's a very calculated person. I can tell by listening to his presentations. When you use terms like onboarding, I know what he does for a living just by that term, that in itself. I'm not getting into all of that because that's his personal stuff, right? But nevertheless, he's very calculated. So why didn't he put the name? Why didn't he put the explanation, of what this means? So it goes on to say, because of its bold, encouraging energy, a tiger's eye crystal is the ideal stone for building courage in all areas of your life. The powerful tiger's eye crystal, meaning, is also especially impactful when it comes to attracting wealth and breaking through financial blocks. When you connect with this energizing stone, let it be a reminder that the path to success might be full of challenges, but when you harness the energy of the tiger's eye, you'll have the inner power to push through any obstacle that appears in your way. Right? This is the meaning of this tiger's eye. But we're going to delve into this. I'm not going to just touch on the surface. We're going to dig deep tonight, family. We're going to dig deep tonight. Let's go to Romans chapter 1, verse 22 through 24. I go over this over and over again because this is imperative, family, for you to understand this text. It's imperative, and this will help you sharpen your discernment. Shammai, listen with intelligence. Be obedient to the things that the Most High is commanding us, not just commanding us to do. Right? Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. We see that a lot of this happening right now today. Professing themselves to be wise, they become fools and change the glory of the uncorruptible Yahweh into an image made like to corruptible man and to birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things. Wherefore Yahweh also gave them up to uncleanness. All right. So again, change the glory. Kabod, change the glory. Right. Make a note of this. Kabod, glory. In a good sense, numerous, rich, honorable, glory. It also means reputation. Okay. So glory, kabod, simply means honor, reputation. You guys remember this from the video, but just want to do a quick refresher. So another word for that's interchangeable with glory is the word name, right? Sham. Let me break it down real quick. It says this, right? Mark or memorial of individuality. In other words, this can mean a literal name, but also by implication, honor, authority, character, fame, infamous, renown, report. So family, reputation is important, not just the literal name, but the bearer of the name. All right. So name means honor, authority, character, glory, reputation. It's interchangeable with kabod, which transliterates to glory. All right. So Genesis chapter 4, verse 26, just real quick. It says here, and Seth, to him also there was born a son, and he called his name Enos. Then began Kal or Kala. Men began to call Quara upon the name Sham of Yahweh. So all this simply means, without going into the specifics, and I encourage those that haven't watched part two, watch part two, and I explain this in detail. So this just simply means that men began to contaminate, profane the literal name as well as the reputation behind the name of the Most High, right? So that's all this means here. I'm just going to fast forward here for the sake of time. I don't want to go into all the details here. Let me fast forward here. All right. And this is just giving you a little definition of the word. Kalal or kala means to wound, profane, defile. It means to pollute. All right. So let me fast forward here. Family. All right. All right, you guys. Okay. All right. Let me fast forward here. We're almost there. Okay. All right. All right. Going back to Romans chapter 1, verse 31. Right. Just to make sure we bring that in. Without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implicable, unmerciful, who knowing the judgment of Yahweh, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in doing them pleasure in them that do them. So this is telling you that even knowing the consequences, many don't care. They're still going to carry out their agendas. Again, not one video, not one post did Issachar address any of the things that I pointed out. If anything, he just called to snitches. Called me a snitch. That's what he was really directing it to. So without understanding, covenant breakers, in other words, breaking the commandments of the Most High. So let's deal with this here. What are chakras? That's some of the things we're going to deal with right now. Are they supported in the holy text? Did the Most High create chakras? Let's go to Exodus chapter 28, verse 4. Right? We're going to really knock down a lot of this stuff here. So let's go to Exodus 28, verse 4. Right? We're going to just knock down. We're going to use the scriptures. We're going to use the scriptures. All right. So here we go. Verse 4. And these are the garments which they shall make a breastplate and an ephod and a robe and a broidered coat, a mitre and a girdle. And they shall make holy garments for Aaron, thy brother, and his sons, that they may minister unto me in the priest's office. So for those that may not be aware, I'm going to answer this question of what is it? What is an ephod? What's the purpose of an ephod? See, the ephod, all right, it is the sign of the high priest. I don't like to use the word symbols, but in the scriptures, we see the word sign, proof, which means proof, evidence. So instead of symbols, use the term sign, because signs are proof. It is evidence. So the spelling of the word sign, right? The very first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, which is the Aleph, right? Which means leadership, authority, power, teach. And we know that points to the Most High. Then the last letter is the Tha, which the numerical value is 400. It means sign, proof, evidence. So together we know that all signs come from the Most High. He is not the Alpha and Omega. No, he's the Aleph and the Tha, or the and the Tha. There's no beginning, there's no ending to the Most High. It simply means that all signs come from the Most High. So here, the sign of the high priest, right? The special call was his clothing, the signs. You just by looking at his clothing, you knew that this was the high priest. The purpose of his clothing was to stir dignity and honor for Yahweh's call and for the office, the priestly office, right? So people took, for the high priest, it was an honor for Aaron to be the high priest. It was an honor to go before the Most High in the Holy of Holies, right? Israelites, they already understood the roles of a Messiah, because when you understand the high priest, they was a type of Christ as they went into the Holy of Holies. All right. So the charge was to make holy garments for a man who would personally minister to the holy Yahweh, to the Most High. So ephod, right? It means this, right? A girdle, right? As you see here, the ephod, or high priest shoulder piece, priestly garment. So what are the stones on the ephod? And this is what I really want to hone in on. And we're going to deal with the purpose as well. Let's really zero in on this here. What are the stones of the ephod? Verse 9. Let's start at verse 9. And then we're also going to deal with the breastplate. But it says, and thou shalt take 2 onyx stones, Abanai, Shahah. All right, let me say that again. Abanai, Abanai, Shaham. All right, that's stones, onyx, right? This transliterates to stone. This transliterates to onyx. So Shaham is onyx. But nevertheless, it says, and thou shalt make 2 onyx stones, engrave on them the names of the children of Israel. Wait a minute. This doesn't sound like what many people are teaching about these chakras of today, crystals. It says on these 2 stones, they had to engrave the names of the children of Israel. So the Hebrew definition of onyx, real quick, it says here, a gem, probably beryl. Now I want y'all to pay attention to that. It says probably the beryl, all right, from its pale green color. All right. So the ephod was to have 2 onyx stones that had Israel's tribes engraved on them. So 6 names were to be engraved on each stone in the order of their births, the births of Jacob's sons. All right. So what's the purpose of an ephod? What's the purpose of it? Verse 12 tells us, and thou shalt put the 2 stones upon the shoulders of the ephod for stones of memorial unto the children of Israel. And Aaron shall bear their names before Yahweh upon his 2 shoulders for a memorial. So the purpose of the ephod and stones was a sign, again, proof, evidence that the priest represented and carried the name, right? We see the literal name, but also the reputation behind the name of Yahweh's people before him as their mediator and intercessor. Okay, so let's deal with the breastplate. And this is what I really want you guys to pay attention to this, because this will just understanding what I'm getting ready to explain to you completely debunks. Many will say that, hey, the Israelites, they had chakras. No, they didn't. They had crystals. No, they didn't. Right? Many will say, hey, the Most High made the minerals. He created them. No, he didn't. Right? He created everything. We know he created all things, but it was man that made these things. That's like saying, well, hey, since the Most High created all the elements, every the atom and all, right? That means that the Most High created the refrigerator. He created the automobile. No, the Most High created all things, but it was man that made these things out of the elements that the Most High created from the beginning. The Most High did not design an automobile, because if he did, we wouldn't have to worry about our automobiles breaking down. We wouldn't have to worry about, anyway, that's a whole nother discussion. Let me stop right there. All right. So what is a breastplate? All right. What's the purpose of the breastplate? Exodus 28, same scripture, verse 17 through 20. Now, family, this is going to shut down anyone that says that they were using these stones here as they're being as chakras are being used today. And I'm going to give you more information on that. But look at what it says here. Thou shalt set in its settings of stones, even 4 rows of stones. The first row shall be a sardius, right? In other words, Adam is what the Hebrew word you see. Topaz, which is patada, and a carbuncle, which is barakath. This shall be the first row, and the second row shall be an emerald, napak, sapphire, sapayar, and a diamond, yahalam. The third row, a ligure, in other words, lasham, an agate, which is shabah, and an amethyst, which you see ak lama. In the fourth row, a beryl, tharashayash. All right, let me say that again, tharashayash, and an onyx, shaham, and a jasper, yashapah. They shall be set in gold in their enclosings. Now, let me give you some facts here. All right. Let's start with defining sardius. Sardius, as I pointed out, as you see here, it says Odim, right, which is actually in the ancient is pronounced Adam, it says redness. An example, ruby, some other red gem, right? Some other red gem. Okay, that's interesting. But I want you guys to understand this. In biblical times, stones were identified by color, such as you see here, Adam or Odem, which simply means red stones. So why is this important? The difficulty comes in accurately identifying the biblical stones. Let me say that again. The difficulty with me stating this is difficult, right? To try to accurately identify the biblical stones for each tribe that it represents. Let me give you some information here. Let's go back into this, right? Let's do some biblical comparison. Let's go back here. Let me prove a point here, right? Because as you see here, I want you guys to pay attention to here. The first row, sardius, topaz, and carbuncle, right? And then the second row, we see emerald, sapphire, diamond, right? The third row, ligure, agate, excuse me. And then we see amethyst, right? The fourth row, a beryl, onyx, jasper. Now, let me show you the NIV version of it. Notice what it says here. A ruby, topaz, a beryl. The second row, turquoise, sapphire, and emerald. All right, the third row, jacinth, or jacinth, however you pronounce it. Excuse me for butchering the name. An agate and an amethyst. Then it says the fourth row, a chrysolite, an onyx, a jasper. I hope you guys just caught what just happened here, what you just read. But if you didn't catch on to it, let's go to the Amplified version translation of this text. Let's see what the Amplified Bible says. It says on the first row, ruby, topaz, emerald. The second row, turquoise, sapphire, a diamond. And then we see the fourth row, jacinth, an agate, and amethyst. Fourth row, beryl, and onyx, a jasper. What did you guys just pay attention to? What did you guys catch here? And I hope you guys really caught it, right? Guess what? Each translation gives you a different order of the stones. Why? Because no scientist, or archaeologist, no one was able so far has been able to accurately put the proper order of the stones. Why? Because again, when you see Adam, it just simply means red stone. So there's a number of stones that has like a reddish brown, because when we say Adam, it's more of a brownish color. But there's a number of stones that can be considered to be in that place. So again, the different translations have different orders of the stones, associating it for the tribes. I believe the Most High God has a great sense of humor, because we will idolize everything. We'll start idolizing every little thing. We're living in a day and time we idolize bad habits, so we idolize everything. All right, so I'm going to a little geek mode here. I know I am, but I just want you guys to pay attention. So what did you observe with each transliteration or translation? Again, no matter whose transliteration or translation of the Bible you read, you will note the placement and the names of the stones in the breastplate on each translation. They are different. You could go into the Tanakh. They are different, as I just proved to you. All right. So I just wanted to share that. So just that right there, I can knock down some of the stuff that many are pushing. And guess what? The high priest did not use those as a form of worship. Right? Each tribe had their names written on the stone. But let me show you what was the purpose of it, so that way we can make sure we put things in its proper context. Verse 30 of Exodus 28 says this. It says, and thou shalt put in the breastplate of judgment the Urim and the Thummim, and they shall be upon Aaron's heart when he goeth in before Yahweh, and Aaron shall bear the judgment of the children of Israel upon his heart before Yahweh continually. Oh, let me read the purpose again. They shall be upon Aaron's heart, these stones, right? This breastplate upon his heart, right? Right? These stones, right? It says here, when he goeth before Yahweh, and Aaron shall bear the judgment of the children of Israel upon his heart before the Most High continually. So there was twofold as far as the purpose of this breastplate. It was a sign that the high priest represented and carried the names of Yahweh's people upon his heart, and that he represented them before Yahweh continually. The second, we see the breastplate was to hold the Urim and the Thummim next to the high priest's heart. This was also a sign that the high priest is seeking Yahweh's will for his people. This has nothing to do with the chakras that people has been pushing around. This has nothing to do with what many will say. No, the Israelites had chakras. No, they didn't. But I'm not just going to say this. Let me give you proof. So was any of these stones used for chakras? No. But let me give you more history on chakras. Because many people think they really know about these crystals, about these chakras, but let me give you more clarity on this. This is coming from Tankrita Institute, right? This article is titled "The Real Story on the Chakras," February, and the article was dated February 5th, 2016. Right. And the link is at the bottom, and I'll make sure that I put these links inside the description so that way you guys can go and see for yourself. Now, notice what it says. I didn't put all of them there because it could take a little time. But the first thing it has, right, because this article is titled 6 Most Important Things You Never Knew About the Chakras. Number 1, there's not just one chakra system in their or original tradition. There are many. So many. The theory of the subtle body and its energy centers called chakras, right? Then it gives you, more information on when you see lotus and you start getting into the petals and all of that. But nevertheless, it says comes from the tradition of Tantric yoga, which flourished from 600 to 1300 CE and is still alive today. In mature Tantric yoga, in other words, after 900 years, every one of the many branches of the tradition articulated a different chakra system. And then it gives you some of the different systems: 5 chakra systems, 6 chakra systems, 7, 9, 10, 12. Really, you have over anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 different chakras, stones themselves. But these are just the system that is highlighting here. Okay. So it goes on to say, what lineage are you looking at? It says the 7, in other words, 6 plus 1 chakra system that Western yogis know about is just one of many. And it became the dominant around the 15th century. But I want to skip to number 3. The psychological status or states associated with the chakras are completely modern and Western. Remember, I just read the Tiger's Eye, where it says it helps you with emotions and all these different things. But notice what it says. The psychological states associated with the chakras are completely modern and Western. Wait a minute. This is not ancient stuff. This is modern. This is a westernized mindset. Do you know that many people, the reason why they really push yoga, as far as how they were able to really push not just yoga, but Hinduism, Buddhism, how they was able to really push it in the Western side of town, is because they had modified their doctrines. Because in the true understanding of what Hinduism is, right, they teach that each time you die, you come back as what? A creature. Until you learn whatever is the ultimate lesson you need to learn. Let's just say if you killed a rat, you come back as a rat. If you killed a mouse, you come back as a mouse. You stomp on and that was hard for people in the westernized territories, this side of the water, to grasp. So they decided to change, modify their doctrines, in terms of what it meant to be reincarnated. to make it so that way it's more acceptable, more universal per se. Getting into syncretism, not getting into that yet. But that's what they were able to do. All right. So nevertheless, so when you start hearing people saying, hey, these chakras help you with your emotions and all these different things, guess what? That's modern. That's a westernized mindset. On countless websites and countless books, we read the I'm not even gonna butcher this, but anyway, the Muladhara chakra is associated with the survival and safety of the Manipura chakra is associated with willpower and self-esteem. But they're saying this is all modern stuff, that this chakra is associated with willpower and self-esteem. That tiger's eye saying that it's going to help you with your willpower. It's going to help you with your emotions. That's all westernized stuff that was just created, right, by this guy here, Carl Jung. It says the educated yogi should know that all associations of the chakras with psychological states is a modern Western innovation that started with Carl Jung. That's the person that created the understandings that you see today, as we read on the tiger's claw, right? So it goes on to say, perhaps such associations represent experiential realities for some people, but we certainly don't find them in the Sanskrit sources. So what people are thinking that they do and helping you with your emotions and all that stuff, that is modern day westernized doctrines from, again, Carl Jung, this guy right here, right? Those are fables, right? That's what the scripture talks about chasing fables. That's not reality, but this is still another system. Number 4, the 7 chakra system, popular today, derives not from an ancient scripture. Wait a minute. But many is trying to try to argue with me, stating that our ancestors were practicing this stuff. Many trolls that was trolling this channel that's following Issachar and others, because I'm not just going to say Issachar, because it's not just Issachar that's selling these chakras. There's other people within the Israelite community that are selling chakras and crystals. And they're telling us and teaching people or their assemblies that the ancient Israelites had chakras, which is completely incorrect. All right. Yoga, all of that is still part of the worship within Hinduism, or if you want to go the Buddha route. And that's a whole nother discussion in itself. But the chakra system Western yogis follow is that found in Sanskrit text written by a guy named, I'm not going to butcher his name, I'm just going to say Yadi. I'm going to say his last name. He completed his text, right, in the year 1577, and it was translated into English exactly 100 years ago in 1918. But then we see 5. This is the 5th bullet I really want you guys to grab hold of. The main purpose of a chakra system is to function as a template for the Nyasa installation of mantras and deities. Remember, I said every chakra has deities, a god and a goddess associated with it, and it also has sexual rituals, I'll just leave it at that. If you understand the Kama Sutra doctrine, because Kama Sutra is actually part of this belief system, right? But it says here, number 5, the main purpose of a chakra system is to function as a template for the Nyasa installation of mantras and deities. It goes on to say, as far as the original authors were concerned, the main purpose of any chakra system was to function as a template for the Nyasa, which means the installation of mantras and deity energies at specific points of the subtle body. So through millions of people as fascinated with the chakras today, almost none of those people are using them for their intended purposes. The most outstanding features of the chakra system in the original sources are these. Starting with 1, it says that the mystical sounds of the Sanskrit alphabets are distributed across the petals of all the chakras in the system. Number 2, that each chakra is associated with a specific great element. Notice the elements: earth, fire, earth, water, fire, wind, space. Number 3, so it's going to lead you into worshiping the elements as well. Each chakra is associated with a specific Hindu deity or deities, as I just pointed out. This is because the chakra system is, as I said, primarily a template. All right. So, family, this is not biblical. This is not biblical. This is not biblical. The way stones are being used today, this is not biblical. Our ancestors did not use them for worship. That's what I want to make it clear. Our ancestors did not use stones for worship. They did not use stones for enlightenment. We know that they had precious stones because it's on the ephod, but it wasn't used for how people are using it for today. As I just pointed out, anyone that says that the Israelites were using these for some type of mystical, emotional movement, that's completely false, because I just proved to you that system is a westernized mindset. That's not biblical. There's not a single text that will say that you are going to use stones for any type of spiritual enlightenment. All right, so let's deal with it some more. Let's get with the chakras. Now we're going to break down, because remember, the tiger eye points to the third chakra, right? So let's deal with the chakras. Let's go a little further with this, right? Because remember, this is Thanos, right? And see, guys, believe it or not, right? Believe it or not, you are being introduced. All of us are being introduced to chakras all around us without even thinking. It's being programmed in the recess of your brain. Some of you guys don't even realize why you're so addicted to Candy Crush and some of those games, because what you see, those are chakras. Many of you guys are hypnotized by chakras. I don't play Candy Crush, but I have some friends. I have some family members that was like, even my own mother was going nuts over Candy Crush. Guess what? Only reason why it seemed like she bought all kinds of expensive technology was because she wanted to play her Candy Crush. All right. But you have chakras all around us if we're not careful. But let's highlight this here. So the reason why I have Thanos here, because Thanos, those stones, those crystals, that whole storyline, those come from chakras. Those are actually chakras. But listen to what it says here. I'm just going to put each one up here. Right? He has 6 stones. The mind gem, right? Which controls the mind. The reality gem, right? The ether is a red floating liquid that attaches itself to the host and makes him or her stronger. Then you have the power gem, right? Incredible power. The space gem, right? The tesseract, the space stone is a blue stone capable of teleporting, right? This little geek stuff here. The time gem. The time gem gives capabilities to visit the future, right? The soul gem, the soul gem or soul stone of Marvel Comics was a somewhat sentient creature that could trap souls inside another world. That's where you see Thanos, once he snapped his finger, he actually went inside the soul gem, right? But anyway, not trying to go geek mode on you guys, but I just want to show you the influence of these things, right? So in the end, Thanos wrestles the gems from their owners and gain mastery over power, mind, space, reality, time, and the soul. So let's deal with the origin of where all of that comes from. It comes from the 7 chakras, and we're not going to deal with all 7 of them because it can take some time to do so. So we're only going to deal with a few of them to bring home my point. So again, chakras, tantric term for the magic circle of worshipers, alternating men and women after the manner of the egg and dart frieze, also one of the rings on the stages of enlightenment, visualized as steps ascending the spinal column as the inner serpent goddess. Because guess what? Those 7 chakras that's in alignment, and you see that it lines up with the that image you normally see is someone sitting in a position of meditation, and you see the 7 chakras going down their back. That represents a snake, because they view the spine as being a snake, the inner serpent goddess. This is serpent worship, family. The Kundalini coils from the pelvis upward to the head. This ascent of these chakras was likened to different stages of initiatory teaching, and each taking place in a magic circle whose members cooperated in the effort of comprehension. So the chakra was essentially the same as Sufic halqa, in other words, magic circle, called the heart and basic of unique Sufism. And so the purpose of a properly conducted chakra was to make each participant feel as if the Shakti was their own mother who had born them. She was a mother bride compounded of the felt presence of both goddesses and woman in the in the classic chakra. Each man had a wife or a Shakti to his left, while the lord of the chakra, with his Shakti occupied the center of the circle. European pagan religions maintained the same arrangements, with which eventually became the pattern of the circular folklore dance. All right, so we, just give you more information here, family. Again, family, what people are trying to do is take this system and backdate it. The Israelites were not practicing, they were not utilizing chakras. They were not utilizing crystals that many people would try to say that they were. Because as I shared with you, when you're dealing with these chakras, guess what? That's all Hinduism, right? And some would say, a few researchers would say that ties in with the Egyptians as well, because of the relationship that India had with the Egyptians, because we know that there were trades going on. And if you really look at the Egyptian mysticism as well as the Hinduism mystical system, you'll see that there's some similarities there, right? But not going to go too geek mode on you with that. We'll touch on that another time. Actually, we'll touch on that when we deal with the Egyptian mystical systems as well. So let's deal with some of the chakras. Let's start with the first chakra, right? But notice in the background here, this is what I was saying. This is that snake. Notice each stone forming the spine here. Snake worship, also phallic worship, right? So the first chakra, as you see here, yellow, foundation, base, that's what it means, right? And you see the location of it. I don't want to say it here, but you see the location of this. And I did a lesson, and I encourage you guys to watch it, Unnatural Affection, and I share with you guys many of the perversions that come with it, from pedophilia to sodomy, a number of things that come with the territory, right? So the downward pointing, and this is where we see the symbol, the triangle, the downward pointing triangle in the pericarp is very important because it is the seat of the dormant vital life force, the Kundalini Shakti. So you see, that this is also dealing with sexual rituals. As you see right here, lingam at its center. So you have the yoni and you have the lingam. The lingam, that's the male reproductive organs right here. And notice what you see here. It is also known as the tripura. In other words, triple, 3. So who is Kundalini? Let me just explain real quick. This is the symbol. Notice the petals over the head. All right. Tantric image of the female serpent coiled in the lowest chakra of the human body, in the pelvis. An aim of tantric yoga was to realize Kundalini by certain exercises and meditation. So this is why I say you have to be careful if you're practicing yoga. Actually, none of us should be practicing yoga, because every position, every chant, every stretch according to that system is pointing you to one of their gods and goddesses. All right. I'm not going to read the whole thing here because it's a little graphic here. But nevertheless, it goes on to say, and mount through the spinal chakras to the brain. The adept would experience the bliss of her emerges as the 1,000-petal lotus. And as you see here, that's why you see the petals right here. These represent the 1,000 petals. All right. Also Shakti. Who is Shakti? Right? Tantric title of the great goddess Kali Ma, realized both as a sexual partner as the innermost animating soul of man or God, like the Greek psychic, Roman Anima, Gnostic Sophia, Kabbalistic, notice what it says, Kabbalistic Shekinah or Shekinah. Remember, I taught on this. The Shekinah is not anywhere, it's not biblical. That is something that was made up in the Jewish mystical system. And many will try to refer to that as the Holy Spirit or the feminine side of the Most High. No, when you're dealing with that, when you're dealing with the Shekinah or Shekinah, you're still dealing with the worship of Shakti. Say all based on the Shakti. All right. So Shakti is translated cosmic energy, right? She implies power, ability. That's just giving you more information on it. All right. But then you see here, Shakti is the female organ. Shakti is the active power of a deity and is regarded mythologically as his goddess consort queen. So every god need his Shakti. That's just giving you more information on it. All right. So again, it says this female principle is the supreme divinity. Okay. Then we have the second chakra. All right. Notice you see the elements tied into this too. Color of water, transparent, white, light blue, right? The meaning of the names, dwelling place of the self. And you see the locations, the genital area. Okay. Work, as you see here, work organ, genitals, yantra form, the circle representing the element of water. All right. Not just worshiping or dealing with gods and goddesses and sexual rituals, but this is also dealing with the worship of elements, right? This is why I pointed out and touched on hair colors in the teachings that I did about Halloween, right? And this is giving you more information here. Clearly establishes the relationship between water and the moon, all right? Vishnu, right? Let me touch on Vishnu real quick. All right. I messed this up, guys. Guess I can't mess with this real quick because it's messed up. But as you can see, boar's tusk often in this belief system, right? This is phallic worship, the boar's tusk, right? The swine, right? These are some of the things that our brothers and sisters don't have a clue that they're delving into when they start dealing with chakras. Chakras are not biblical. We're not supposed to be participating in none of this stuff. But this is the third chakra, right? As the tiger stone points to, red, city of jewels. All right. We see here, went past it. All right. But we see here it's associated with the third chakra. I didn't put too much. I thought I think I accidentally deleted the presentation or what a slide that gives you the gods and goddesses associated with this. But you guys get the gist of it here. But it says here, third chakra, red, right? Red, city of jewels. Location, part of the vertebral column that corresponds with to the navel region. All right. And lastly, we see here the fourth chakra, which you see here, the color, it says it's colorless. In other words, gray or smoky. All right. The element, right? You see it says the shape and the element is what? The hexagram or six-pointed star, right? So this is where you get the church steeples are made off of this here, right? It's nothing more than what is called a hexagram or the yanni in the ligam yanni, that is sexual rituals. So the yantra form, the hexagram or the six-pointed star symbolizes the air element, all right? The star is composed of two overlapping intersecting triangles. One points upwards, which symbolizes Shiva, the male principle, and the other pointing downwards symbolizes Shakti, the feminine principle. In other words, that hexagram represents a sexual ritual, which is also referred to as the Kali dance of death. All right. So I hope this helped you guys, because we have to really be careful. We have to really be careful. All right. I know I'm giving you a lot of information here, but I want you guys to understand, don't get caught up when people start talking about esoteric and all. Man, don't get caught up with these terms. Keep it simple. See, that's why I always go to the scriptures, and I always go to the proper context of the text. Not just say, hey, give me one verse. No, explain the proper context. So again, we don't see what many people saying that the Israelites were practicing. They were not practicing this stuff right here. If anything, the Most High was telling them to stay clear of this stuff. So the hexagram, real quick, right? The hexagram, the familiar design of the two interlocking locked triangles, is generally supposed to have represented the Jewish faith since the time of David or Solomon. Therefore, this hexagram is also known as the Magen Dawid, right? In other words, or Magen Dawad, Shield of David, or the Star of David, or Solomon's seal. Actually, the hexagram had nothing to do with David or Solomon. It was not mentioned in Jewish literature until the 12th century AD. It was not adopted as a Jewish emblem until the 17th century. The real history of the hexagram began with Tantric Hinduism, where it represents, as I pointed out, the union of the sexes. The downward pointing triangle was the female primordial image of Yani Yantra. All right. So that Star of David, as we talked about, little information on it, just going to little geek mode. Shield of David, the so-called Star of David. But notice what it says here. It was not associated with Judaism until the late Middle Ages. It was not officially accepted as a symbol until the 17th century. And when we start really dealing with Zionism, you see this is what they really began to push. Even on the early coins in Germany, you'll see this star there, this hexagram on one side of the coin, and you'll see a swastika on the other side. So the original source of the Magen Dawad or Magen Dawid was the Tantric Great Yantra, which stood for the union of sexes. And this is what I just covered here. So again, Kabbalistic sex worship brought the Yantra into Jewish tradition. All right. All right. I'm gonna I don't have it in this one. I see Refayah. I see you mentioning the pineal gland, but I'm going to show you that has nothing to do with scripture. I'm going to show you, if I have enough time, I'm going to take you. I'm going to show you who created that whole dialect, who created that whole teaching. The Egyptians was not doing what many state that they were doing with the pineal gland, right? But if we're not careful, many are using that pineal gland of today like a portal, sort of like the Ouija board. But we'll deal with that. I'll try to see if I have enough time to bring that up here. All right, looking at what time it is. Okay, Shavad. Let me hit on another goddess, and then we'll touch on a few more scriptures, and I'll drop the link inside the chat. Shavad, the oldest of the Vedic male trinity family. See, the Trinity wasn't just solely for the Christian church, Catholicism. They adopted that they took that from other communities. Ultimately, the Etruscans had a Trinity, right? As we dealt with that, that's where you get the term universe. But you see Shiva, right? You see here, the oldest of the Vedic male Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, formed in imitation of the older female Trinity, like the great goddesses, like the great goddess whose son, lover, and victim he was. So notice it says the older female Trinity. The older female Trinity actually was the Etruscans. Sometimes he alone was a Trinity or a three-headed God. That's why you see, oftentimes we see Shakti, she'll have three heads, right? Because representing Trinity, right? So three-headed God, bearer of the trident or triple phallus, which enabled him to mate with the triple mother. All right. Shiva was also called Lord of Yoga. And this is why we should not be practicing yoga. You don't see the Jewish community as we know it practicing yoga. You don't see the mosque having yoga up there. You see this inside the Christian church. And some of our brothers and sisters are indulging in this stuff that said that they are awakened. Shiva was also called Lord of Yoga, an example of the yoke. Wait a minute. Yoga, interchangeable with the term yoke, that bound him to the goddess. He is also called the Lord of Death, called Shiva, the corpse, prostrate under the feet of Kali. This is again where you get the Kali dance of death. This is getting into necromancy or necrophilia. When you start dealing with this, copulating with dead corpses, and you see this inside the Egyptian story of Osiris and Horus and those guys. All right. So we see here, notice what it says here, Hindu parallel of the dead Osiris. I was just touching on that. Osiris is shown as the still heart, a mummy, dead and yet alive. Remember the still heart, when I exposed to the whole thing with Issachar, with Simeon Toko, the heart, the sacred heart, Ab, Egyptian. That's the word for heart in Egyptian. That sacred heart points all the way back to the Egyptian mystical system. Lastly, Kali Ma, as we give a couple of verses here. Kali Ma, Dark Mother, the Hindu triple goddess of creation, preservation, destruction, now mostly commonly known as, in her destroyer aspect, squatting over her dead consort Shiva. And this is now getting into necrophilia and devouring his interest. So I'm not going to get into all this, but doing a sexual ritual over him. All right. On their corpse. It is in India that the experience of the terrible mother has been given its most grandiose form of Kali. And matter of fact, this is what you see Beyonce, right? I thought I had it in here. Is this in here? Yeah, this is the Beyonce. Notice what she have on her shirt. Let me stop it right here. She has Kali, even though she had, many would think it says Kale, but actually Kali. This dance, what she's doing is what is called the Kali dance of death. Family, we're being exposed to all kinds of mysticism, and unfortunately, many of us are not astute like we should be. If you say you are a watchman, you should know these things. You should be warning your assembly. You should be warning your household to stay clear of this stuff. Notice this dance that she's doing, right? That's Hinduism. That is the Kali dance of death that she's performing there. Right. And even in this video, you'll see her with more of the symbols that they have right here. Notice how she's meditating there. This is Shakti, the worship of Shakti. And we have these things going on among our community right now. Family, we have to stop trying to see how close we can get to sin per se, profane things without it being considered profane. No, we're supposed to get away from it, run from it like Joseph did, flee from it, resist it, right? Just give me a little more. Look at right in your face, family. All right. So these are some of the seven major chakras, right? And as you see, each one of them point to some type of element. Right. The first one, you see earth, you see water, you see fire, you see air. As we went to go back to the third one, the element fire. Right. The tiger eye, fire. The fourth one, air. The fifth one, the element akasha. Right. In other words, a void. The sixth one, essence of all elements. Right. Number 7, the third eye, transcending all elements, the third eye. Come on, family. This is not, the Most High did not call us to get into these things. He told us to stay away from these things. So the worship of the 4 elements is important in phallic worship. So these chakras, right? Remember, in Hinduism is phallic worship, right? Egyptology, no matter how, don't let these Kemet guys fool you. Egyptians, they were what? Phallic worshipers. The Babylonians, phallic worshipers. Right? When you start understanding this, Nimrod and all that stuff, that was phallic worship. When you start understanding Tammuz, the women weeping for Tammuz, and the men doing some perverted things, putting a stick to their nose. In other words, they were doing having homosexual activities inside the temple, performing these actions and rituals inside the temple. So the worship of the four elements is important in phallic worship. The worship of the four elements is important in pagan worship. So this is just an example, right? Wicca, right? Because you have Christian witches, right? Notice the name of this book, Christian Wicca, the Trinitarian tradition. Notice what it says here. I'm just going to highlight a bullet here. The four elements are associated with the Malkuth sphere. Many consider the elements to be a lower form of angels. The elements of earth, air, fire, water are instrumental to the concept of Wicca and are the building blocks of creation. So they are worshiping the elements. They worship stones. Notice what it says here. The Malkuth sphere, that's a stone. All right, let's go to another portion of here, right? This is their closing songs when they're closing the circle. Notice what they say here. We thank the elements. They're worshiping the elements. They're worshiping the angels, but they're worshiping what? The elements. That's why they dye their hair certain colors to represent what? The different elements. And each element represents what? Associated with a different stone, one of the stones, and also a sexual type of ritual, a sexual ritual that's associated with it as well. So Yah is not in any of the elements, family. The Most High is not in any of this stuff. He's not in any of this stuff. 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 11 and 12. Right? And he said, go forth and stand upon the mount before Yahweh. And behold, Yahweh passed by, and a great strong wind rent the mountains and break in pieces the rocks before Yahweh. But Yahweh was not in the wind. Rawak, he was not in the wind. He was not in the earthquake. Notice what it says. Yahweh was not in the earthquake. Yahweh was not in the fire. Why? The Most High had to make it clear, because remember, Elijah just had to deal with Jezebel's priests, had to deal with those that were worshiping Baal and worshiping the groves, worshiping Asherah. So he slayed over 850 prophets of these guys. And what were they calling on? The priests were calling on the Baal of the air to try to bring forth rain. Right? Worshiping the elements, worshiping these stones, which is interchangeable with it. That is significant. They were worshiping the elements. And the Most High had to tell his prophet here that, guess what? You don't need any of these elements. He's not in any of these different things. But guess what? He had to let him know that what's inside him is more powerful than all these things here. He got control of all these things. That's what he said. After the earthquake, a fire, but Yahweh was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still small voice, right? A still small voice telling him, hey, what are you doing here? So we have to be careful, family. Yeah, that's right. The group Earth, Wind, and Fire. Yeah, they was into all kinds of stuff, man. Yeah, they were into some stuff, right? But anyway, Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 28 and 29. We're about to wrap this up, family. And he said, go forth. Oh, wait a minute. Did I put it in here? You know what? Nope, that's not the correct one. Let me see if I have it in the background. Oh, I didn't put it here. Let me see if I could change it real quick. Let me bring it up here, because that's not the correct text. All right. Let me put it up here. I'm not sure how I missed it. All right. So I know I kind of brushed through it pretty quick. I'm going to drop the link here. Let's see. All right, Deuteronomy. Let's try it this way. All right, here we go. Animation 9. Let's try it this way. Let me see if I can pull it up here. All right. All right, there we go. It updated. All right. So it says here, and there shall ye, and there, excuse me, and there ye shall serve. All right. All right. Let me make sure here. All right. So this is what the Most High is telling them. What they will not do. They're not supposed to serve gods, other gods. And there ye shall serve gods, the work of men's hands, the wood and stones, which neither see nor hear, nor eat nor smell. All right. So the Most High is literally is basically telling them that they're not supposed to. Let me bring it up here. That they're not supposed to serve any other gods. All right. It's telling them right here that they're not supposed to serve any other gods. They're not supposed to worship wood or stone. All right. And Israel is not supposed to serve any other gods. Unfortunately, Israel went against that. All right. So let me see here. I want to do something here real quick. I want to pull something up here because I know I mentioned the third eye. Let me see if I can pull that up. All right. I was trying to get my third eye one. But again, family, even in this text right here that we have up on your screen, this is basically, if we go back here and we read it in the background, man, I'm trying to find my third eye one. It keeps popping up here. I was trying to fix it here. But in a nutshell, I'll read it here, right? Let me read the actual scripture, the verse that precedes it. It says, and the Lord shall scatter you among the nation, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither the Lord shall lead you, and there ye shall serve gods, the work of men's hand, wood, stone, which neither see nor hear, nor eat nor smell. But if from thence thou seek the Most High, right? Verse 29, the Yahweh Elohim, thou shalt find him if ye seek him with all thy heart. So we see here the Most High is making it clear the punishment that the penalties that come with chasing after other things, chasing after other gods. We're not supposed to be worshiping stones and woods and those type of things. I was trying to update my presentation to put the previous scriptures here. But anyway, I know I gave you guys a lot of information here. I was trying to, let me see if I could pull up the third eye real quick. All right. Let me pull it up real quick. I'm going to drop this link in the box here for those that want to jump in for as Benaiah. Let me see here. I just put the chat the link there. So let me try to pull up this third eye here. I said I would touch on that real quick. All right. I think I found it. All right. This is an older presentation, but you guys get it. I'm going to pull it up here. All right, let me pull it up here real quick so you guys can see. Oh, that's not it. Let me try the other one. Hey, peace and blessings. Benea, how's it going, cuz?
Peace and blessings, Pastor.
I'm trying to pull up this answer the question about the third eye. I know I'm giving a lot of information. Believe it or not, I shrunk my presentation down.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure you got it there somewhere, cuz. Peace and blessings. Thanks for inviting me on.
How you doing tonight, cuz?
Doing pretty good.
Let's see here. The third eye. Oh, here it is. Here it is right here. All right. So family, just real quick, just to touch on it real quick. The third eye doctrine, the worship of the pineal gland. All right. This is some sources here. This is coming from Medical News Today. Once called the third eye, the pineal gland is a small gland located deep in the center of the brain, named for its pine cone shape. This gland secretes melatonin, which plays a role in the body's internal clock. The pineal gland was one of the last brain organs to be discovered and has been the subject of much mythology and speculation. The 17th century French philosopher René Descartes thought the soul was located in the pineal gland. So a lot of that comes from him, right? So when you go to, this is a reference I'm going to put up here, a source about René Descartes, 1596 to 1650. This is coming from this link right here is coming from Stanford. And it, as you see here, Descartes has the pineal gland, Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. And this is the link right here. I'll drop it in the comment section for you guys to read more on it for yourself. But it says here, unfortunately, however, some of Descartes' basic anatomical and physiological assumptions were totally mistaken, right? So this is dealing with his teaching on the pineal gland. Secondly, Descartes thought that the pineal gland is full of animal spirits, right? Brought to it by many small arteries which surrounded it. But as Galen had already pointed out, the gland is surrounded by veins rather than arteries. Third, Descartes describes these animal spirits as a very fine wind, or rather a very lively and pure flame, right? So he's, and this is really dealing with that doctrine there. Let me see here. I was trying to look for a key point here. All right, the origin. Let's go further here. There's a long culturally diverse history regarding the pineal gland, most of which have been highly mystical. And they're referring to the person Descartes because primarily a bulk of that came from him, regarded the pineal gland as the point of contact between the soul, body, and the place where our thoughts are formed, right? So it goes on in dealing with as you see here, Strassman describes as the spiritual molecule. And then when you go here, other extraordinary speculations include those, and this is speculations, include those of Pharaonic Egypt, where the pineal gland was equated with the eye of Horus. Additionally, the third eye of Hindu spiritual enlightenment is described as originally being a third eyeball that atrophied into the pineal gland. All right. So, like I said, this is, I'll stop right here. And we'll do a full teaching on that. But I just want to show you guys that this is nothing new, but this is something, a lot of the stuff that people are practicing. These are actually westernized stuff that was created in this westernized culture, as we pointed out, even with the information that we have on the chakras. But nevertheless, how's it going, cuz? Let me bring you on. I know I went a little geek mode here.
No, it was definitely needed. And it's funny because I think I've said it before, but Israel is kind of like Superman, because everybody knows Israel's weak spot. Just like everybody knows Superman's weakness, right? Kryptonite. And it's you see the same tactic over and over and over again. Try to get Israel to get into some of these, different religions, some of these mystical practices, get them further and further into the curses, and then therefore they can, the proverbial the nation, can have their way with them. And you brought it out because like in these last days, with all this mess happening with mice over in Australia, countries burning up in Oregon. Literally, Germany's having all these types of floods and things, and people just having this feeling like that something's around the corner. Now's not the time to start getting into this stuff. You know what I mean? Like now's not the time to start messing around with chakras or cheese. I know you didn't speak about that, but even like the Chinese, who openly worship the red dragon, like they venerate the red dragon. They get into that stuff, right? But Israel definitely need to stay away from that in these last days, because whatever's coming down the pipeline, you want to make sure that you're covered. You want to make sure that you're behind the Most High's hedge of protection. And one thing that'll get you out of that hedge of protection is quick. What do they say? Quick, fast, in a hurry. Is messing with that chakra stuff. And I can't tell you, because I am so disappointed when I see, so-called Israelites pushing this stuff on our own people. I can't tell you how much that turns my stomach. We all read, those slave books and watched those slave movies and watch that, like the house Negroes, right? And you had the field Negroes and you had the house Negroes. And to me, even I did understand the mindset of the house Negro, how they would team up with the master against their own people. But now, bring it forward to current day to see that whole scenario played out. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but just to see that whole scenario play out in present day, to see people trying to lead our people back into captivity, because that's ultimately what it is, to get you to get into all this chakra stuff, to get you to get back into the curses at a key point in time. I keep saying it, at a key point in time, they are truly your enemy. And like I said, that just turns my stomach. But maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but that does turn my stomach. And I thank you. Most High bless you, cuz, for bringing this out and just addressing it head on.
Well, I appreciate it, cuz and I tell you, it's something that's many people really don't understand at all. And real quick, because I saw somebody post 2 Kings 18:4, and I want to make sure that they understand that when you understand this text, this is actually Hezekiah launched a reformation throughout the nation that had been unmatched since the days of King David and Solomon. What he did was he took action that had never, at that time, up until that point in time before, been taken by any king, right? And so what did he do? The false worship at these sites throughout the nation, because there was all through here, you had Israel worshiping the serpent and, taking things all out of context. And, they were doing this. It was all across the land. So he knew the worship of false gods was not pleasing to the Most High. And so what did he do? He destroyed these things. All right. So this wasn't Moses pushing the children of Israel to put groves up and all these different things. I want to make sure people don't take this out of context, that's not what this is saying here. Hezekiah tore down all these things. Israel began to take these things and began to idolize and to make idols of these things. So just want to be clear. And we're going to deal with this not tonight. We'll get proper clarity on incense and sages and all that other stuff to make sure we get a clear understanding of that. But my apologies. Go ahead, cuz. I'm sorry.
No. I mean, you're right. I mean, I totally agree with you. And I guess in my mind, because I'm like, now's the time to make sure that you are, in one alignment with the Most High, right? And if there's some friend stuff that's out there that you can't quite find or work out in the scriptures, leave that stuff alone. I mean, you know what I mean? Like just stick with the basics. Stick with what you know. Stick with what can easily be proved out in the scriptures. And you'll be just fine. But like I said, fam, like now's not the time for that, And we as you have seen over the last couple of weeks or whatnot, you're gonna have brothers coming to you left and right with some strange doctrine. Today is Issachar, but tomorrow it might be somebody else. And it doesn't matter how they sound, doesn't matter how they look. One of the things that I've learned from, just kind of digging into this history was that a lot of times it's going to be people of your own nation that's going to come against you with this stuff. People that's going to be, that's going to act as a Judas amongst the assembly. That's going to cause or try to cause others to fall. So, my warning to you, fam, is just to be vigilant. Right. Don't get sucked into some of this, this fringe stuff that just all of a sudden kind of manifesting in these last days. And you can actually see it. It's a systematic attack on Israel today. Systematic. I mean, step one, get you to believe that you're, not necessarily Israel, right? But you have some some African practices that you need to adopt. Like that's step one, right? Step two, start, swapping out the names. I'm gonna give you something obvious, but I'm gonna swap out the Most High's name and I'm gonna throw an Nzambi in there. I'm gonna throw a Hasatan in there, and I'm gonna tell you that it's the same thing, but we both know that it's not the same thing, right? That's step two, right? And then step three is just to get you to act it out, to put it into practice. And
Absolutely. And real quick, cuz I'm going to cut you off.
Oh, go ahead.
Family. And I'm gonna just say this again. And I see Ashley Truth will set us free. The Most High did not open up any pineal glands, right? And I want to make this clear. I just gave you the document. And I'll drop the link here. What you're teaching is a 15th century idea that the spirit is connected to the pineal gland, right? Our ancestors were not worshiping and tapping into any pineal glands. And the reason why you see a lot of our brothers and sisters losing it is because they are actually don't even realize that they are tapping into or using their bodies as to being a medium like the Ouija board and opening up things that they can't let go. So I want to be clear, family. The Most High, the Israelites had nothing to do with the pineal gland. Again, that was not something that was brought out until, from this perspective, until the 15th century. So let's not get caught up in all these different modern terms and try to backdate it. And that's what's happening is, let me remove some of these guys out here because they really flooding up the thing here. But the Most High did not create this stuff and did not have us tap into it. This type of thing that many people are thinking of. What's the purpose of the Holy Spirit? The Holy Spirit is what we have. When you start seeing here, especially the scripture that was highlighted, right? Basically, when it says that when it talks about Matthew chapter 6, verse 22, the light of the body is the eyes. That's not having that has nothing to do with the pineal gland, right? Because we also know that your eyes are the windows to your spirit. Whatever you see, right? That's one of the first, the three things that you're tempted with, what you see, right? And then it affects what you think and also what you want. So this has nothing to do with some, pineal gland doctrine that many are delving into. This has nothing to do with this. And lastly, I've dealt with a number of people that got into this stuff and went crazy. I warned them. I'm gonna see if I could put it on, put one of the videos up, and I'm gonna just take out the faces. But we literally had 5 people came into our ministry one Sunday. This is before we transitioned to the Shabbat, but they came in, and the Most High used me to cast out the spirit of witchcraft. They came in right after I did a video called Christian Witches, and they came in to challenge. And right there had to cast out spirits on them. Family, stay away from this stuff. This is where you start getting into mediums and all these different things. And I'm going to say this again. The Most High did not create this. As I even share with the chakras, go back and watch it. That's a westernized concept teaching that there's psychological connections to stones that's going to help you with your emotions. Those stones, just like the worship of the elements, is going to take you to other gods and goddesses. So let's stop with this stuff. We're trying to connect something that was never there for the children of Israel to practice. That's why we have the Holy Spirit, because the Most High, through his Son, the Messiah, said that the Holy Spirit is going to do what? Teach us all things. All things what? That the Messiah has taught. And the Messiah taught everything that the Most High has instructed him to teach. His doctrine wasn't his own. It was the Most High's. My apologies, Benet. I just thought I touch on that because I just had to put somebody out of the chat because they kept pushing that third eye stuff and I'm not trying to continuously go there with that. My apologies.
I totally understand. For situations like that, I guess what I don't understand is why, if that's your passion, right? If your passion is to get into like the third eye stuff, then it just makes sense to go find like-minded people and the fellowship in that. You know what I mean? Like I don't understand going to another platform that doesn't promote that and then try to push it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I totally support you on that. And that's my encouragement. Like, I mean, no sweat, fam. Like if that's your passion to get into the third eye worship and stuff, then yeah, just go and find, like-minded people. If the don't want to heed the warnings or whatnot, and you feel passionate about it, then that's your vice. That's your thing.
Absolutely. And as you pointed out, even with the times of Noah, and see, many people really don't study that text like they should. But the Most High said, and this is what people don't understand, man, when you really start going into those words, when it said, the Most High said, man's thoughts was evil continuously, right? The Hebrew word is ra'ah, and that word is also interchangeable with the word see, how they see things. Man began to corrupt the literal name of the Most High and the reputation of the Most High by what? Coming up with all kinds of things that contradicts him, his reputation. They began to, like Paul talks about it in Romans chapter 1, how they began to, take animal heads and put it on human bodies and all kinds of things. It corrupting the glory of the Most High. Any thoughts on Cuz?
I totally agree, Cuz. Because
it's just unbelievable because I'm like, wow, and not trying to really keep going over that Issachar stuff, but proving that he worships another God, he worships another Holy Spirit, he worships and believes in that the second coming of Christ has already taken place in the form of Simeon Toko, similar to what the Jehovah's Witnesses teach. Why would you want to purchase any material from that person? If all the, how they say, if it walks like a duck, you know what I mean? Quacks like a duck, then it's a what? Duck.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can't stress how dangerous this is. I mean, if people who follow, me over the years and in these platforms, I don't normally, get involved in disagreements and stuff like that. I try to just, for the most part, just stick to the material at hand. However, in this case, I'm making an exception because when I look at this is dangerous, and it's not just, hey, you believe this or you believe that, or hey, it's a disagreement of opinion, which is funny when people say that, and they take it beyond a disagreement of opinion. They turn it into a personal attack. And then when you respond and say, oh, well, we just had a disagreement of opinion, like that's deceptive. That's not being, forthright and it's just all kinds of deceptiveness that goes along with what he's doing. But the thing that worries me about the sheep is the turning them back to these doctrines that got them enslaved in the first place. And what I mean by that is that if when it comes to the information that we were taught when we were in slavery, and I haven't gone over this in post just yet, but most I will. But there were certain things that were taught to the Negro when he had his chains on to keep him in chains, right? Because when you look at the history, what you'll find out is that the times when Israel rose up, the times when they got their pitchforks and turned on their masters and fought for their freedom, they believed that they were Israel. Like they found themselves in the scripture, and they were like, oh no, this ain't gonna work, right? And what the masters did, the masters learned from that. It's like, okay. We can't keep having these uprisings. We got to do something about these Negroes to keep them in bondage. And one of the things that they did, which I hadn't talked about, was they gave us this thing called the Slave Bible. And of course, in the Slave Bible, if you ever get a chance, it's actually in Washington, D.C. But they've taken out things like the law, right? They've taken out all certain parts of Exodus. They've taken out the whole book of Obadiah. But basically, in the nutshell, they don't want you doing the things that the Most High told you to do from the beginning. They don't want you to know that you're Israel and start to associate with the things and the prophecies and other things in the Bible that associates with Israel. And in addition to the Bible, right, they had to teach us a history because, everybody else has a history upon the earth. We can't be the only people walking around without a history. So then they wrote us a new history. They wrote us new books, right? And they told us things like, hey, you're from here and you're African and all these types of things. And our history is what I call a very shallow history, meaning that you couldn't go back too far. You walk over to an Irish person and he can tell you his history all the way back when. You walk over to an English person and he can tell you his history to way back when. But you so-called Negro, you can't do that because your history was rewritten and it was a shallow history. And so the thing that's shocking to me is this new history that was given to us that we just broke free of recently, right? I mean, we connected the dots. We figured that, hey, you know what? There's history that goes beyond 1619. There's history that goes beyond the transatlantic slave trade. It actually started before then. Spain and Portugal, they were enslaving people before then. They were crucifying people and torturing people before them, right? And so we went back and looked at that and we found ourselves. We found the people that were living in ghettos. We found people that were called Negroes. We found people that were dark skinned, that had short, nappy, curly hair, that wore hoodies, that could rap, right? That ate fried chicken, that ate fried fish. We found ourselves in those people, and we found that their history ended when our history started up. And we said, well, you know what? I think that's us, right? But what's happening today is that we have people, especially right now, like I said, today is Issachar. Tomorrow it might be somebody else. But today, what Issachar is doing is that he's taking that new history and saying, no. You need to go back to this history that we gave you when you was in change. Take this back. Go back to that old mindset, right, that you had before. And and in addition to that, he's doing the exact same stuff that you brought out as well, cuz as far as, you know, throwing in these zombies and these other gods and these other worships of it. It's a package deal, fam. It's a package deal. It's all designed to get you back in the place of your captivity, back into the place of your bondage. And you know, it's kind of like for me, because it's like I want to warn my fam. I don't want to sit on the sidelines, because I feel as though that I would be in error if I didn't, because because we have a whole bunch of information that we haven't brought out yet, right? I mean, we got a lot of good information that's out, but we also got a lot of information that hadn't come out yet. We're just trying to put stuff together, right, and just waiting for the right timing and so forth. But us knowing that, or me knowing this information, and then seeing this error doctrine going out, I can't with good faith just sit back and just watch it, right? So that's why you see me, posting some of these things that people are shocked. But yeah, some of these things we've known for a while, right? And I was hoping to put them into a video, but eventually some of them will get put into a video. But I think that it's time for some of this stuff to come out, so that you them people, right? So, I hate to be long-winded.
Oh no, you good, cuz go. You know how we do.
Yeah, like those old preachers used to say, I'm not gonna keep you long, but I'm gonna take my time. but yeah, fam. The long and the short of it, fam, is stay away from that. Look, if you want to follow Issachar, follow Issachar. Go and do that thing, right? If you want to do in zombie, you want to worship zombies and have a substitute Messiah, go do that thing. Like, if that's your passion. Again, I keep telling people, like, I'm not going to force you to do the right thing. Like, it's a choice for you. I mean, it's a choice for all of us, right? Either you can go right or you can go left. Like, the Most High gave us that choice. I said before, blessings and cursings, you choose, and I pray that I have the same mindset. So if you want to follow that stuff, go and follow it. But if you want to know the truth, stay away from it, because I can tell you, it can be easily debunked, right? Because all of it is brand new. Every time it whips out a reference, it's brand new. Then it says, well, facts are facts, right? And that just goes against basic research, like fundamental ABC 1, 2, 3 research. That's just it. Like, if you wasn't even talking about this whole Israelite thing, Israelite history, if we were talking about volcanoes, and all I read to you was like brand new stuff, and I didn't go to you about the history of it and none of that stuff, or if we were talking about Egypt, and I didn't read nothing old. We didn't read none of those hieroglyphs. We didn't look at none of them pharaoh bones, none of the mummies. But all I read to you was something that my colleague wrote. That would be a F on a paper so quick, right? But that's what he's doing. So, if you want, like I said, fam, if folks want to follow that, I encourage you, hey, go follow that stuff. But if you want to know the truth, stay away from it. Use some common sense, when it comes to research, 101, and just sidestep that stuff and just leave it alone.
Because what's unfortunate is, even to that point, to what you pointed out, is even a lot of the terms that people are using, like pineal gland, that's not an ancient term. As I pointed out, even in that document, I let people, read it for themselves. I'm gonna put it inside the chat. But that's a 16th century invention. And what tends to happen, and I'm sure you can elaborate on it more, is we come up with these modern constructs and then start backdating it to try to make things line up with whatever you come up, whatever you've invented in the current. Again, like, for example, the pineal gland, even the doctrine of it, the mystic side of it was, the origins of it is Hinduism. It's not Egyptian, the way that it's being taught, but that term itself is not an ancient term, and unfortunately, that's what people don't understand when they see those things, kind of like when we're dealing with languages. A lot of the things that we see today are a lot of the effects as far as the changes in the shifting with the, for example, the Hebrew language, the 16th century, where you really saw this part of this vowel movement, is where you saw a lot of the pushing of interpolating the language. So that's that's kind of been my pet peeve, is seeing modern constructs, people are then backdating, esoteric, backdating it, metaphysical, backdated, to try to make everything line up to a modern construct. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's trying to retrofit it back into the scriptures. Like I said, I keep things simple, because I take out my my little electronic Bible, and I just do searches for it. Like, you do search for perennial gland, whatever the name that thing is.
Yeah.
Let's look it up and see if it's in there. If you get 0 returns, then you don't need to follow it, right? I just keep it simple. I know there's some some translations and stuff that go in there, and sometimes you got to translate it so to make sure you're searching for the right thing. But yeah, if it's not in there, just for me, if it's not in there, I just leave it alone. No need to try to retrofit it. And then I came up with this term called a Bible buddy, where, and this is what kind of helped me, throw off the bonds of Christianity. And that is, when I came into the truth of knowing who I was, and I, started to do a self-evaluation of the things that I should or should not be doing, right? What should I keep? What should I throw away? What I did was, you look in the scriptures for a Bible buddy. So you basically, you look to see if you can find somebody doing what you're doing, the practice that you're doing, then hey, you got a Bible buddy on that thing, right? If you can find like where it says, Isaiah, got his third eye, and then he went to the Mount Sinai, you got yourself a Bible buddy. Then you can sign off on it. And the Most High didn't rebuke him for it. You can sign off on it. But if you can't find a single person in the Bible, if you don't have a Bible buddy for that, you got to leave that alone, fam. You got to drop that thing. I mean, it's so many things that we picked up here in the Daughter of Babylon. You have to realize, in the Daughter of Babylon, there is all manner of unclean beasts here, right? I mean, we have picked up, and Pastor Kelly, you were just showing, videos of Beyonce, and we all know that there's all kinds of, demonic types of things that's in her videos, and she's not the only one. There's all types of artists that are out there. We see it every day, fam. I mean, it's amazing that you're still here today, because of all this corruption that's around us. So I mean, just say all that to say that we picked up some stuff in the Daughter of Babylon. We got to let stuff go. We got to figure out what to keep, what to throw away. Easiest way, find yourself a Bible buddy in the scriptures. If you can find somebody that's doing it and that the Most High didn't rebuke them for, or they sign off on it, you're good. But if you can't, leave it alone.
Well said, cuz. Well said. And that's what we need to do, family. Just what Moray just pointed out is, someone within the scriptures that you can identify with. And look at that. Look at the example, of what they had to do, to get to where they are. I mean, it makes a world of a difference. And that makes absolute sense, Beneo, just what you pointed out. And I just encourage everyone to just really, as Beneo pointed out, take your time and just really research. Keep it simple. One of the things I had to do with the ministers in our assembly is I had to let them know, because of course they ask questions. Hey, what is this, a lost book? What's this book? What's this book? And I had to tell them, I said, before you read anything, make sure you know and have read the first 5 books of the Bible. If you haven't even read that, why are you reading something else? Make sure at least you went through all 66 books before you start taking on other things. But we're kind of like that itching ear. If we hear that something is lost, we want to read that, but we haven't read even just the basic books of the scriptures. So keep it simple. Keep it simple. And again, this is why the Messiah said, if it's possible, the very elect will be fooled. That elect is Israel, because Israel understood the purpose of the Messiah, as we talked about with the high priest, the responsibilities of the high priest, and we're still being fooled right now. Look at the things that are happening. And I mean, again, Issachar is a prime example. I didn't know he was into all that stuff until I actually started going through his videos, and it's like, wow, I didn't know he was into all of this stuff. Family, it could sneak right on up. It could sneak right up on your doorsteps, sneak right in your household if you're not paying attention and using true discernment. Any additional thoughts on Benaya?
No, I know it's late and people got to get up in the morning. me being one of them. It's a good discussion, and thank you, cousin, for bringing this out. Like I said, it was definitely needed. It's a warning to Israel. I tell people, like, hey, stay vigilant, fam. Stay vigilant. And because your Achilles heel, your weakness is well known. Like the blueprint for keeping you in bondage is well known. You know what I'm saying? So knowing that and knowing that they know, what to look for, right? You see somebody coming with some new stuff, go ahead and put the block on that. You see somebody trying to give you a new history that smells like what you used to learn, put the block on that. No turning back. If you don't, turn away from that. Turn away from that vomit. Right. Just keep moving forward, Israel. Keep pressing forward. Pray for discernment. Pray for that the Most High reveals, speaks to you through your Ruach, your Holy Spirit. Keep going. Keep pressing on, fam. Now it's not the time to look back. Like Lot's wife. Right. You got to keep going. Babylon's getting ready to be judged. It's about to be smoking ashes, if according to the script, whenever the Most High's timing is, right? Just keep going, Israel.
Absolutely. And for those that even the question here, I want to be clear. I want to make it clear to everyone. I'm not saying that having stones are bad in terms of, like, if you're purchasing a diamond or whatever. We know Israel wore stones, but we're not. There's a difference between purchasing stones, right, and purchasing crystals in terms of chakras. When you purchase something that has a label Tiger Eye, research it. Normally, when you see that term, that's something that's pointing to a chakra or some type of mystical belief. When you purchasing things now, just be conscientious of what you're purchasing, because when you start understanding demonology and all that, when you start understanding evil spirits, they just want to have access to you. So the best way to have access to you is through what? The things that you touch. Similar to that movie. What's that movie that Denzel Washington watched? I mean, I'm starting when he was touching. It was a spirit that called itself as Azael, Azriel rather. He was singing "Time on Your Side," Falling. That is a perfect movie to watch if you really want to understand how spirits move. Because he was being tormented by one spirit, but that spirit was able to move by touching people, touching cats, touching anything that had breath. And we have to be careful when you start understanding that you have to be careful on what gifts you take in from people. Matter of fact, if you're trying to get away from your past, let's just say if you had a drinking problem, Get rid of everything that was associated with that past, so that way you don't have that spirit still around you. You know, because we have a tendency of wanting to keep trophies. You know, some people have, you know, I have friends that had beer bottles, you know what I mean, all over their rooms and stuff like that when we was in the dorms.
Right.
No, you want to get rid of everything, like Jacob had to do with all of those that was following him out of Laban's household. They had to bury their idols and everything, you know, before they progressed any further. So you have to burn and bury those things, because those things can hinder you. So again, when it comes to purchasing things, you know, this is where you have to use wisdom, right? You have to just like, again, when you eating certain things, you're going to pay attention. Like we all know that we're not supposed to eat pork. So guess what? You're more conscientious of paying attention to what's in the ingredients. Likewise, do the same thing when you're dealing with purchasing clothing and things along that line. Just say, you know what? Let me see. For example, again, if you see jewelry and it has certain names on it like that, look it up. Look it up, and I guarantee you, most cases you're going to see it tie into some type of mystical system. So again, you know, my wife has a nice ring that I purchased her for when I proposed to her, but it's not something from a perspective that we're worshiping and using it as an idol. So any thoughts on Benay as we get ready to wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to throw in a Super Bowl ring. Like if you got a Super Bowl ring, you know, that's okay. Because it's funny because I guess the joke behind that is that you know how, you know, when you, I don't know about you, but when I first got married, you just had one of those cheap wedding bands on, and then when it got time to upgrade later on, you know, I was telling my wife, so like, yeah, I want one of them Super Bowl rings, you know, one of them those big rings with the
can't even bend your finger, right?
right. I was joking of course, but yeah, you know, like just stuff like that, you know. But no, good discussion, Pastor Kelly. Yeah, thank you for bringing that out. Yeah, the chakras it's definitely something that we need to look out for.
Absolutely. And for those that joined in late, on the screen, this is one of the slides that I went over. As you see here, the main purpose of chakra system is to function as a template for the Nyasa installation of mantras and deities. So this is not what you think it is when you start dealing with these stones. All right, but use wisdom, family. Not going to hold you guys up. It is kind of late, and thank the Most High that this is the last day of the week. You know what I mean? So I know I'm going to be tired. I'm tempted of just staying home tomorrow. But nevertheless, family, really appreciate you guys, and let's just keep our brothers and sisters lifted up in prayer. My concern is not necessarily Issachar and others that are teaching. My concern is the sheep, because it's so many that just want to genuinely learn the text without all these layers of things that are being added to it. So let's just continue to pray for the people, pray for just the Most High, just touch the hearts of his people, including Issachar. You know, just pray that he shift from where he's at, where they are right now, and get back into the place that he needs to be at. Repent, denounce all those things, clean up, remove everything, and just take a seat and just take everything in. Sit yourself down just to kind of regroup, resync, and so forth. So again, family, as Benay echoed, if you're going to get into those things, you know, you don't need our company to do it. You know what I mean? Take it somewhere else. We're not doing that over here. You know, there's plenty of other things that are out there. But I'll say this again, family, you know, you need the Holy Spirit like never before during these times we live in. So with that being said, Benay, I'm going to let you have the final word, and we're going to wrap it up.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, cuz I think my son, trying to look at the clock. It's like, I know my son's not up. He likes to linger a little bit. So I think I'm gonna have to go upstairs and make sure he's getting into bed. But yeah, no, hey, family, hey, stay blessed. Most High willing, more and more information will come out. My goal is to drop some information once a day, but I may just leave it at weekdays, but we'll see. But I definitely have enough information to drop one a day for the whole year, if need be. I'll just put it to you that way. But I'm not sure if we're gonna do that or not. So we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, stay blessed, fam. Love you, Israel. Like I said, stay vigilant, and got more stuff on the way. Just can't wait to share it with you.
Absolutely. And I thank you again, Benaya, and for everyone that's tuning in. Appreciate you guys for taking the time out. I know I went geek mode a little bit, but I was trying to stay clear of that. So, but anyway, on that note, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. And again, can't go back, can't stay here, keep moving forward. And, in the words of Issachar, we'll let him say that right now or what we need to do with some of this foolishness. Let's purge it out from among the people of the Most High and do what? Take that stuff back to church. In his own words, here we go.
Don't get offended. You left a comment. I'm coming back to you to respond to it. See, people do that sometimes. It's kind of like to throw it back on you to make you think, no. I'm just responding to you. You just didn't know what to expect. You didn't know what to expect. You thought we were just going to, the joy of the Lord is my strength. Yeah, I get you. No, there's no coons up in here. Maybe in the church where you came out of, but there's no cooning up in here, period. We're not cooning up in here. You understand? We're not doing that. All right? Take that back to church. Take that back to church. Take that back to church.